Good morning. It's Beverly Cole, and it's so great to see you. Well, I can't really see you, but it's good to have you here. Today I'm going to be talking about how I color with alcohol markers, how I get texture and dimension. I'm using a digital stamp from this set. It's called Aster Garden, and I drew these and it's been released by Sparkle and Sprinkle. I'm using the digital, which I was able to make larger in my word processing program because that way I can get more detail. The first marker that I'm going to talk about is my absolute favorite, and it has been for years, and that's Prismacolor Premier. The newest ones that I've purchased are Nuvo alcohol pens, and for the price point, these are amazing. You get a set of 3 in, say, all greens or oranges or all of any one color, and they're like $2 a marker. They are not refillable, but for that price point and the amount of ink that's in this pen and how great it works, they are worth more than every penny. So I'm going to use a variety of pens. I also have some Spectrum Noir. Now, using the packaging that the stamp set comes in, I'm able to see where the colors belong on this flower, and I'm using some charts as well, and I'm going to put links to the ones that I was able to find online for you in the description below. This is the Spectrum Noir. These are the ones that I have. You fill in with the ones that you have, and it's good to have a chart because the colors on these pens are kind of shiny and don't really represent the true color, so the chart really helps. Plus you get to see the colors right next to each other that go in the same color family. So I'm going to start with some yellows, and we're going to use the ones from Nuvo. Yeah, I don't have a chart for the Prismacolors, but they're pretty true to the color on the caps. So here we're going to use the yellows from Nuvo alcohol markers, and I wasn't able to find this chart online, but there is one, so just check around. You should come across it somewhere. I just can't remember where I got it. This is how I store my markers, and I know you're supposed to lay them down, but that doesn't work for me the way I work. I like to work out of a bin, so I keep the point down that I use mostly, and that's the smaller end, the bullet end. Yeah, the Nuvo markers are great because they don't roll off your table. Just be careful when you take the covers off that you make sure you put them back on so that you don't lose track of your markers. Some of the older ones don't have the name of the color on the barrel, only on the cover. And they don't come in sets necessarily that look best together. Sometimes it's better to mix and match, and you just have fun with them. So here I'm filling in the entire flower, this aster, with yellow. And the reason that I do that is because it gives me a base to work with, and it breaks the ice for me. So when you look at the blank white, it can be a little bit daunting, and you get worried that maybe you're going to make a mistake. But if you fill it in with one color, you've already succeeded in one way. And you can get the different colors from looking at the artwork, or you can just go for it and use any color you want. You can use the packaging just to get the lights and darks if you like. Now notice that I'm not going across all the lines with my ink, and that's because this is an inkjet printed image, and if I rub back and forth too much, I could smear the black. So sometimes you might see me make little tiny dots over the black lines, and that kind of helps seal the color in. I don't know if that's really, really true, like right there I did it, but it makes me feel better. And if you do color across lightly with a pen like a Nuvo, which is full of so much ink, you can go lightly and get plenty of color. I just like to take my time and color it in. I'm not in any hurry. I enjoy coloring. If you don't enjoy coloring, you can print these out in color and just use them as is, these images. They're available in the digital set in color as well. When you get the digital, you get it in black and white and color, and sometimes more than one color. So here I am continuing to fill in with color. And notice that I colored all of it, including the leaves and the stem, in yellow. And that's because there's yellow in orange and there's yellow in green. So the yellow base is the perfect color for the entire image. Almost done. I want to get every little inch colored in. And this bullet tip is perfect. Some markers do have a brush tip. I think I have maybe 2 brush tip alcohol markers. I do have watercolor markers that are brush tip. But I've gotten so used to using this bullet tip that I'm happy with it totally. Okay, so there's our base. And now you can see that the ink went through the paper, the cardstock, and that's good. You want the ink to penetrate because it's giving you a base for later when we actually remove color. And now I'm going to go on and I'm going to add some shadows using a color slightly darker than the yellow we used for a base. It's a fairly close color to the yellow. And I put the shadows where things kind of seem to overlap. I try not to think too hard about it. I'm putting some dark underneath the center of the flower, where leaves overlap, and where I just think it would look pretty. Yes, the middle overlaps. You can also go ahead and you can look for flowers online or pictures that you've taken to look at the shadows on flowers such as these. And it'll give you an idea of how things overlap and how they cause shadows. This is actually the picture that I drew the stamp from, so it's perfect for my image coloring. But I'm not even using it. I'm just putting the shadows where I think they should be. And if you don't want to think that hard, just put the shadows where you want to and have fun with it. Whatever you do with a flower, it's going to be pretty. Flowers just are very natural, of course, and flowy. The petals can be translucent, and you're going to make it look pretty no matter what. So here you can see a bit of dimension already underneath the center of my flower, and I'm continuing to put more color in. Now this is called Zia, Zentangle Inspired Art. At least that's what I call it. If you see all the little curly cues and the stripes I put in some of the petals, it's not actually Zentangle, but it's inspired by the Zentangle movement from years ago. And once I started drawing this way, I truly just use it in a lot of my drawings. The first one I ever did is my signature orange rose, and you'll see that here and there. Here's a shot of it on my dresser. I painted it in acrylic, and I was really pleased with the way it turned out. So more color, more shadows, and we can move into a darker marker, staying in the color family. Of course, you don't have to. You can use other colors. You just want to make sure that whatever colors you use, that they do not combine to make brown, unless you want brown. But if you combine any colors that contain the 3 primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, you're going to end up with brown. So be careful. I like to stay in the color family on the color wheel, at least for the, like all the petals or the center. In this case, I stayed right with the color family until we get to the leaves. So here is some darker color, and I am coloring in the center so that I get dimension from the back of the center and the front of the center, and just coloring that in and talking to you guys and just having fun. I originally had my live voice over this, but I found that my microphone really wasn't the greatest, so until I get a new mic and play with it and get it to work for me. My voiceovers seem to be the best. Okay, so I'm putting in shadows with the color family of the yellow through reds, the warm colors on the color wheel, from the red to the yellow area. Haven't added any blue, the third primary color. And there I'm putting in some just color to add some contrast and to build dimension in my flower. They may not be actual places where there are shadows, but like I said, you can just put them in and make it look pretty and have fun. I love alcohol markers because they're very smooth and they blend so beautifully. Now this is Poppy Red, and I'm using a Prismacolor Poppy Red, and to show you that all of the alcohol markers blend together well. There's really no reason to feel that you have to stick to one brand. If you are able to, or come across, or someone gives you some alcohol markers that aren't the same as that you already have, just say thank you and combine them with what you have. And when you use those color charts or make your own color chart, you're able to see the colors and you can match them up as you please to. These are the little pistils in the flower. At least I think that's what they're called. And just making them red really makes them pop. And they are actually that color if you look at a picture. So yes, this is the digital Aster Garden stamp set, and there's a link to it below at Sparkle and Sprinkle. You can make this, you can actually take this after you color it, if you've enlarged it like I have, and you can scan it into your computer, and then you would have this color image that you colored, and you can make it smaller or larger in your word processor, or if you happen to have GIMP or Photoshop or any of those image manipulation programs, which is what GIMP is. Then you're able to do even more with them. If you take that into a program like GIMP, which is a free download, you can make this into a PNG, which is just an image with no background, so that you can overlap it with other images. The PNGs that you get in the stamp set from Sparkle and Sprinkle already contain the PNGs, so you don't need to have a special program. Now this is a blender pen, and it has alcohol in it, actually, pretty much. But I'm not going to use the blender pens right now because they're really not blender pens. I can refill these with alcohol, not the markers, just the blenders. When you add alcohol to a marker, it just makes the color dissolve. So you don't want to do that. But the blenders I'm going to put aside right now, and we're going to use the lightest yellow to blend. If we use a blender, it takes the color away. So don't let that word blender confuse you. I have not found it helpful for blending. Here we're just using a lighter yellow to blend the edges of the lighter and darker yellows, and especially Nuvo. Nuvo's pens just blend so beautifully, and they are probably my next favorite to Prismacolor, past Spectrum Noir. Spectrum Noir markers, although they're refillable, I find sometimes will just come apart when I'm opening them. They're very difficult for me to open. I don't know if they've changed that, but I've had mine for a few years. I have quite a few of them, and it's a bit disappointing when I go to use them after a time and they're either dried out or the the top just opens up when I pull the cover off. The whole barrel comes apart. So I prefer these Nuvos when it comes to price point, and the Prismacolors when it comes to the color choices and the fact that you can purchase them individually, and they even come in metallics. The Nuvos come in a set of 3, and for $6.99 for 3 markers, go for it. Buy a new set, you know, and you'd probably spend that on 1 color ink refill. So it's a pretty good deal, and like I said, the color is amazing. So I used that marker to blend, and now I'm blending with the little red up there, and it's just amazing how easily they blend. I mean, look how fast I'm moving. This is not speeded up. And I'm using the yellow. And when you take your top off, remember to put them back on as you work. You'll not only keep them from drying out and have them last longer, but you won't lose track of the color name. The older ones don't have it on the barrel, and if you take off that chisel end with the number on it, and you have a bunch of them open on your desk, you're just going to get confused. So, you know, when I go to my grandkids' house, they've got blue covers on purple markers and red covers on green markers, and it's just, you know, great that they're using the covers, but sometimes they don't even do that. So, you know, it's important to snap the covers on as you go, and when you do that, after a while, it's just second nature. You don't just leave them laying around with the covers off. Okay, so it's looking good, and now we're going to work on, I believe, the greens. And I'm looking for a couple of greens here in my Spectrum Noir, just to show you again how they all blend. And I find the marker, and the tiny gray line on the barrel shows you that's the bullet tip, the smaller tip. And I can easily find 2 greens that go together. The letters on them stand for words like DG is dark green and CG is citrus green, and then there's all different numbers that are the different lights and darks of those markers. And I keep all of my markers in a big enamel bowl. See how hard that is for me to open. There's the 2 tips, the bullet and the chisel. And you can get replaceable brush tips for these markers as well. So they have a lot of choices for you. Yes, there's the small tip. And now we'll work on that green. There's some orange there, but I'm not going to worry about that because I'm going to use a darker green over that, and it will actually reactivate the orange underneath, and because the orange is lighter than the green I'm going to put there, it'll disappear. So one of the nice things about alcohol markers is that you can layer them and you can change the colors. Here I'm changing something that I originally made a petal into a leaf by putting green over it. And I'll add some green in some other areas as well. There's another leaf that I changed. And now you can see the leaves changed from petals to leaves. And here's the darker green that I'm adding. And when you want to blend 2 colors that aren't so close, like this is pretty dark compared to the other green, you can actually make your own colors by taking your lighter marker and rubbing it into a scribbled patch of the dark green. And then when you color with that lighter marker, the color will wear off from dark to light, as you see in my leaves. Now I'm going to show you how I make texture with the blending pen, and that is done by drawing lines. And it helps to put a piece of scrap paper underneath your work as well, which I forgot to do here. You can also press and make little dots. Another thing you can do is if you go out of the lines, here I did it on purpose, take your blender pen, and again it helps to put a piece of scrap paper underneath, and press into the mistake with your blender pen, staying clear of that black line. You don't want to get too close to the black because this alcohol will travel, and if you do go too close to the petal, it will travel into your artwork. That's all for today, but there will be more coming about alcohol ink and shading with colored pencil. So stay tuned and hit the bell so that you don't miss any videos that are coming up. See you next time.